there's a guy in my comment section who really wants me to review the suggestions he makes, saying that he's posting a suggestion each day until I respond. Well, you know what? You win. I'm going to review his first suggestion in this video, which is Yuta, and in my next video, I'll be reviewing his second suggestion, which is Jogo. For a little bit of a sneak peek to my overall thoughts, I don't like his Yuta suggestion, but his Jogo suggestion is one of the few that I actually had a good time reading. However, we're talking about Yuta today, and man, do I have a lot of criticisms to bring up. Specifically of how stupid the Awakening passive for Yuta is, as well as how boring and lazy the domain expansion is. Before we start reviewing though, make sure to like and subscribe for even more information on Jujutsu Shenanigans content. Now, let's get into the video. For the first moveset this guy made, he made Yuta Okotsu, and I already did a preliminary read through of this before making this video, which lets me say that this is not really a great suggestion. I'm going to say it ahead of time, but this suggestion is not that good. So let's start off with the first move, which is Devour/Copy. It summons Rika to bite the enemy's arm off, and once that's done, pressing it again will copy the enemy's R move. I personally like the concept because it sounds pretty rewarding. You do something and then you get a buff after doing that, and copying an R move can be pretty cool as a concept. The only problem with it being that not all R moves are equal, and some have pretty weird interactions. For example, if you use this move on a Mahito, then you'd switch over to having the blade arms. But then, are you stuck with those blade arms forever? Or would you still have that R move so you could switch back to your normal fists? That's the main problem I have with this, which is that it just wouldn't work on some characters, like specifically Mahito, because his R move doesn't really allow for one-time uses, like what this suggestion seems to be proposing. It'd work fine on someone like Akari, who has like an actual move for his R special, but it wouldn't do anything on Mahito, or just break Yuta in a way that'd be actively harmful to the user. Next move is Impale, which slashes upwards, leaving the sword up in the air for a moment, leaving the time for the enemy to be impaled, and if anyone drops on top of you, they also get impaled. That second thing seems like it'll be just something that's pretty funny. It'd be pretty much impossible to actually trigger in a fight because nobody's going to be dropping on top of someone accidentally, but it'd be a funny thing you could do if you wanted to just see how many people you could skewer on one sword. The last part of this move is a little weird though. He says that you can cancel it to just be an uppercut, and there's two ways you can interpret this. The first way, which I'm assuming is not the case, is that during the startup you can turn this move into just being an uppercut, which would be stupid. Why would you do that? There'd be legitimately zero reason for you to use this and turn it into an uppercut when you can just hold spacebar and do a normal uppercut instead. So what I'm assuming this is that while you're impaling someone, during that period where you're locked in place and the opponent is on your sword, you can cancel that end lag period, not technically end lag, but some sort of stun for both of you, into just being an uppercut. Which would be good if you're fighting multiple people because you don't ideally want to be stun locked in an animation. And in that case, I guess it'd be useful because you're not really sacrificing anything. No one's going to drop onto your sword, so you're not losing anything by canceling the animation early. Unless he's adding some damage over time to the person when they're on your sword, but I'm assuming that's not the case. So I feel like this move is okay. A little bit gimmicky and also very weirdly worded, but if it's the way I'm thinking it's going to be, then it sounds okay. The next move is Backstab. Deliver a strong slash, and pressing 2 again will make you rush towards the enemy and blink behind them, which kind of reminds me of some other moves in other games, but I digress. That 2 again thing reminds me of Z Battleground's Vanish mechanic, and if that's the case, then this is just going to be a flat-out combo extender, which I have no problems with. Bog standard combo extender, who cares? Let's move on because there isn't really that much to talk about if it's just a bog standard combo extender. The third move is Curse Infusion, or Black Flash. You punch the enemy and you knock them away, and if you time it right, it'll grab the enemy and throw them with a Black Flash, with the Black Flash picking the opponent up from the ground. My only gripe with this is that with the other Black Flashes in the game, there exists a reason to not use the Black Flash variant. Divergent Fist can hit grounded while Black Flash cannot, and while you still generally want to always use Black Flash with Yuji, since you can also uppercut into it, Divergent Fist does exist for a reason. it's an even worse problem with Mahito. Mahito's normal focus strike is an extender, while the Black Flash is not an extender. This is just objectively better. Picking up your opponent from the ground is always a good thing, which the first move seems to not do. The first version, I mean. And it also seems like it might do more damage, or maybe not. Though that depends. So, like, the Black Flash here is just objectively better. It's a reward for getting your timing right, and it does feel like there's no reason to use Cursed Infusion. It's not necessarily a terrible thing, just something to take note of. Final move for the base is Summon Grasp. You summon Rika behind the enemy to grab them, forces them into a quick time event, and they have to spam M1 to release Rika's hold. The quick time event thing is a little bit weird. I mean, it might be better to just have it as a standard stun, but it also might be a little bit more fun to have the spam M1 thing in the game. Z has made something like this before. In Rogue Demon specifically, he had the Enmu move, where you have to spam quick to wake up after you get hit by that one Enmu move. I don't know the name, but it puts you to sleep. And I feel like this could also be kind of fun, though some people might be able to just escape this in like 1 second, making the move useless, while other people might take a while because they don't have very fast clicking speed. So it just feels like a little bit hard to effectively balance between each player, because depending on how hard or easy it is to escape the quick time event, it might just be way too easy for some people to just get out, and it feels like the stun might just only last 1 second, which would not get you any value. It's a bit gimmicky. That's the main problem I have with it, which is that it's gimmicky. Moving on to the Awakening, which is pure love. There's a lot of issues with this one from my preliminary read-through, and I'll go through them right now. Rika, the first move is R, and it gives you every character's moves, excluding any supers. This is okay, though there does seem to be a bit of a problem with this that I have, which is that it gives Yuta basically 5 Awakening moves. Every character in the game, in their Awakening, only really has 4 usable Awakening moves. Sukuna being the one sole exception, because Sukuna and Megumi being the sole exceptions, because Sukuna gets Cleave, which is a grab, and Megumi gets to switch back to his base. But the thing about that is that Megumi consumes a crap ton of Awakening meter, which cannot be understated. Megumi's switching basically nukes his Awakening meter, so there's a huge penalty for doing that. And Cleave, on the other hand, Sukuna's R move, is just very meh. It does a lot of damage, but it's not an unavoidable, tough-to-avoid move that is as overpowered as his other Awakening moves. Cleave is a close-range grab, so you have to get a combo in the first place, and it also is a combo ender as well. So you basically, it's not nearly as strong as the other moves, which is not the case here, because this gives you every character's moves, excluding any super ultimate moves, like Hollow Purple or World Cutting Slash. Which means stuff like Lapse Blue, which is extremely powerful, is on the table here. And giving Yuta multiple Awakening moves that are all really powerful is definitely going to cause some problems with balance. What's even worse is that second line, though. Yuta's Awakening involves a long wind up with super armor, and if Yuta is attacked during his moves being used, Rika will defend Yuta. This is the most unbalanced passive I have seen in any suggestion so far, because it gives Yuta hyper armor on every single one of his moves. So you can afford to just recklessly throw out moves of zero consequence, and your opponent can't do anything about it because they can't interrupt you. And what's even worse about this is that interrupting moves is a main way you counter most of the Awakening moves in the game, specifically the ones that are extremely strong and have those long startups, like Domain Expansion. Every Domain Expansion in this game is made to be countered by interrupting it, but if Rika just jumps in to defend Yuta every time someone tries to interrupt him, then he can't be interrupted, and that just becomes the most unbalanced passive in the entire game. This just needs to be removed. Flat out, this cannot be in a suggestion. And some people in the comments are going to white knight and call me a hater, but this cannot exist in the suggestion, it's just too unbalanced. Moving on to the moves themselves, Din Icebreaker just seems to be some big punch, large shockwave. I mean, like, there's not much you can take from this, but it looks like it's just going to be a big AoE move that guard breaks and does decent damage while combo ending. Nothing to really say there, it just seems like a standard awakening move. Big damage, hard to avoid, good for just neutral. Pure Love seems to be the ultimate here, which is a gigantic beam of pure cursed energy. I feel like this would fit into a similar niche as Hollow Purple, where it's a big startup, but it's also not too hard to dodge. But if you do get hit by it, it's a huge punishment, and you're going to take a lot of damage. So I feel like this is fine. Your standard awakening move, that awakening ultimate. I like the concept, even if it's not too creative. Moving on to Cursed Speech, you can choose between freeze or die, and this one's pretty creative. Freeze basically gives you a combo starter. It freezes a combo starter, so it gives you a combo, meaning you have a lot more damage potential. But then die, on the other hand, ragdolls the enemy and does raw damage. The only problem I have with this being that since die ragdolls the enemy, I'd assume Pure Love at the very least hits grounded, while Thin Icebreaker probably would be good for hitting someone on wake up. So you could theoretically just get that same combo start without the M1s, just off of die, which, since he says this isn't blockable, this doesn't seem like it's going to be avoidable. At least not easily avoidable. So you can pretty much just go for a free huge damage number by just combining die with Pure Love or Thin Icebreaker. It'd be a little bit unbalanced, but I mean, it's not that big of an oversight. Just a small thing to take note of. Finally, this guy's concept for a domain expansion, which is not good. You open your domain, and any move during it gives you a guaranteed hit. Which is the most uncreative concept for a domain expansion I have seen in a suggestion so far. The problem with this is that it just isn't creative. Every domain in the game takes inspiration from what the domain in the source material does. You know, Gojo's stuns, Sukuna's does a bunch of damage, but this doesn't even implement anything that Yuta does. It doesn't have the swords on the ground and picking one up lets you copy a move or something. No, this is just the standard basic rule for a domain expansion in Jujutsu Kaisen. Guaranteed hit effects. And that's very lazy for a concept. I'm hoping this is just out of inexperience in making suggestions, because this is not a good domain concept at all. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it, because that's just the honest truth. It's not even a domain concept. People are probably going to go crazy in the comments and say that I should make a better domain expansion, so I'm going to do that ahead of time to shut them up, because pretty much anything is better than this. In the domain expansion, you can get a heavily nerfed version of any domain in the game, picking between Gojo's, which slows the opponent by a lot, Sukuna's, which deals very slight damage over time, and Mahito's, which deals decent damage over time to people who get close to the user, as a throwback to how Yuta is able to use a sure hit effect of Angel's technique when he used his domain. In addition, a bunch of swords will be on the ground, and picking one up will give you a 5th random move that, once used, disappears. These moves will be selected from a pool of non-ultimate awakening moves so that you can get stuff like Lapse Blue or Reversal Red Maximum. Not only would this be a strong enough domain that's pretty much a guaranteed kill if you play it right, just like the other domains in the game, but the randomness with the swords forces a user to adapt to what they get in a fun game of chance that feels alive. Overall, this suggestion isn't very good, and while the base is creative to some extent, the Awakening throws a lot of that out the window, and to put it bluntly, is kind of badly designed. However, this is a first suggestion out of the ones he wrote, and considering how well written the Jogo suggestion is, I'm assuming that this one is just a bit of an... I'm assuming that this one is just a little bit inexperienced, and that he absolutely improved at writing suggestions as time went on, because his other suggestions are pretty great. The next video will be talking about Jogo, so stay tuned for that. But now that we've finished talking about Yuta, this video is over. If you enjoyed it, then please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for even more commentary about Jujutsu Shenanigans. I'm New Eternally, and I hope you have a good day. Bye.